Don't expect this. I know.
Call this meeting to order. Roll call, John.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Commissioner Butcher?
Here.
Commissioner Campos?
Here.
And Mayor Trujillo.
Here. Mr. Campos, Commissioner Campos needs some prayer and pledge.
Yes, sir. Join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight, Lord, the spirit of thanksgiving, Lord, and gratitude. We want to thank you for allowing us to be here tonight, Lord. We ask that you continue to go, Lord, to guide us always in the right direction, Lord, and allow us to interact with each other with professionalism and with respect, Lord. Even though our opinions may differ, we ask that you touch our lives in such a way, Lord, that we always do whatever is best for our entire community. We want to thank you, Lord. We ask that you continue to be with us and to guide our paths and to do the best that we can for our community. And we ask this in your precious Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
I'll make that motion. Oh. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make that motion, Mr. Rader. With the change of the order of the agenda, if we could place the public comment at the end of the agenda in order to accommodate State Representative Gallegos and Assistant District Engineer from New Mexico DOT, Mr. Alan Briley. Mr. Gallegos has a previous engagement that he needs to attend to. So if we could do that, I'd like to make that motion.
And I will second that.
And also, the resolution 2018-58, it needs to read designate official representative for NMED, SCADA, grant SAP-18-C 4063 from STVR.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. I have a motion to consideration of the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have some special guests today from the state. We have State Representative David Gallegos, and also we have Alan Bradley from Assistant District Engineer Construction for the state of New Mexico. They would like to, we've been working together on trying to make a few adjustments to the new construction that is slated to start in 2020. Main Street, we had listened to your opinions at third phase meeting. And what we're trying to do currently is make a few adjustments to accommodate some of your concerns as well as some of our concerns to ensure that this is going to meet our expectations and try to meet the expectations of the public. One thing about it is we're not, I wish we could make everybody happy on everything, but you and as well as I know, it's hard to accommodate and make everybody happy. So, but we've been working directly with the state and trying to figure out how we can make it feasible for all of us. Go ahead, State Rep.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the audience to come up. I first off want to thank you and apologize. I have my daughter turns 30 today, and so we had a birthday party. I do want to bring up that our Tim Parker, who's over our he's our district engineer for highway. He is actually in Santa Fe at a meeting that I was supposed to be at. I asked him to take care of business up there so we can down here. Because when I came into the meeting on June 22nd, there's a lot of conversation about the what ifs. And we wanted to be able to, as Mayor Trujillo stated, take everyone's ideas and their discussion points to actually make some concessions. One of the deals, I just want to let you know, is what's on the table is a $2 million amount that we are already in the process, that we've already put forward for the engineering and the plans on the project. If we delay this, that money goes away, and that's a matching grant for the federal monies. So my fear was, going into this, talking to Mr. Parker and also with Alan Briley, that if we do that, where are we, when are we going to fix our roads if we push it back? Let me back up. I married a girl from Lovington, so I'm going to say home. I was raised in Colorado, but right the day after graduation, I moved from Denver to Lovington. I was here for 10 years, so I'm going to say home often. But when we as residents here push this back for whatever reason, if we do, where would we be at in the playing field later? So the bad thing about this, if we do push it back, it could be, not mandated, but could be 2 or 3 years for them to redesign, rethink through the process, redo all the testing, because they do a lot of safety testing. They put the lines out there, they see what our traffic flow, they look at the community needs. And I think what we've come through in the last couple of weeks is a really good common ground, middle ground, so that I think the community, the state, and the city can come to an agreement. We're currently looking at taking out the median through the project because of the traffic flow that we need for the parade and rodeo. I often go on horseback, and that's my preferred ride during the parade and rodeo. But we also need to understand that some of the stuff that the state wants, it's actually the federals, are the bike lanes on the outside edge. So we've looked at everything and tried to come up with a compromise. I'm going to ask that Mr. Briley come up. We are looking for the greater good of the community, not what the city council wanted, not what the state wanted, but the greater good, and that includes those that had opposition to the project and the way it was laid out. We're now looking at individual businesses on how they come in and out of them, so that the curb cutouts would match what their needs are. So that way we don't stop business. We want Lovington to grow, and that comes by the individual businesses being successful. I'm trying to think, the other piece was, we talked about the worst case scenario. We just want to be fair and not stop or not lose the opportunity. The roads here in Lovington are really, really bad. I think the opportunity is now for us to get them resolved. The wider sidewalks for the downtown area, to be able to make this place attractive to foot travel, so the businesses downtown can have, even you guys do a great job around the courthouse as far as, the smoking on the plaza and everything you guys do down there. This would broaden it so the people on Main Street would actually have sale points in the evening, or, during the day. I was going to ask Mr. Briley if he'd come up and correct me on anything that I have, or we have, I was not, when they had the presentation, I was not there. I came up at the last, so the state gave me a paper copy of the presentation they gave, and I've not gone through it in whole, but I looked at some of the key things, which were the medians and the concrete work that they were proposing. And I think those are the biggest items that we're looking at to try to compromise on so that we can go forward. The last thing that I'll say before Mr. Briley comes up is that we're at a critical decision point right now. If we, the city of Lovington, decide to hold off, I don't know that we'll pick this up for a few years, just because they're so far into the process that if they don't, and again, we're trying to get everyone's input in, and like the mayor said, not everyone's going to be happy, but I think we've found a common ground that the majority of the issues that we're brought to us on the 27th, or at least addressed or at least looked at. I'll yield to Mr. Briley, see if I misstepped or misstated anything.
Thank you, Representative. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Alan Briley. I am the Assistant District Engineer. Mr. Parker sends his regards. As Representative said, he's at a infrastructure financing topic of some kind up there. But Francisco Sanchez is the Assistant District Engineer in charge of planning, and he has been involved in these. And he happened to be on vacation too, so I got the short stick and I got to come in and visit with you all. So I got all the documents from Francisco. I called the PDE, the project development engineer, and a lot of the people that were involved with the consultants today to kind of get the scoop of what's really been happening. Again, I'm mainly here to listen, but as the representative said, the time is critical. We have certain time frames in order to obligate and tie up monies 3 years down the road. And so our plan is to have these plans finalized by December of this year. That's what, 6 months, 5 months? So we are at a stage 30 to 60% plan is where we're at right now. And this is the opportunity to where the input taken from the 2 meetings and then the 3rd meeting, this is where we need to take action and say, okay, the town wants 4 lanes, they don't want 2 lane, they don't want the medians, so we can look at and address the federal requirements as far as what's required for bike lanes, what's required for access control. Looking at a lot of the reports, the left-hand turn out of the businesses are the concern that they have for safety, and that's why the recommendation of medians. If the town doesn't want medians, then we need to look at a different way to mitigate some of those issues and those problems through design. And so I'm pretty much here to listen. Like I said, we are at a point where we need to have your all's kind of, I guess, commitment would be the right thing, or raise your hand, say foul. We need to consider something else. As the representative said, this project is about $8 million. $4.7 million of that is federal. So because of the largest chunk is federal money, we have to go with some of the federal regulations. And one of those is bicycle lanes, wider sidewalks, ADA compliant, all that kind of stuff has to be taken care of as part of the obligation to commit to federal funds. The funds that might go away, as Representative said, is we have programmed within our money in another 2 or 3 years. The district gets some $30 million worth of project monies per year, and so 2 of that is committed for 2 years down the road as far as state funds to help with the other $4.7 million, so we can get all the funding for this project. So that's the money he was talking about that could be de-obligated and re-obligated, mainly by Santa Fe, but we have a connection in Santa Fe that might be able to help us with that. So I'm here to listen. I'm here to answer any questions. Like I said, this is something that I'm taking back to the designers, to the development engineers, saying this is based upon the last 2 meetings and the 3rd meeting. This is what they want. It was interesting. I was talking to the people that were at the first 2 meetings, and then the 3rd one, that's when the word parade came up. They said nowhere in the first 2 meetings did anybody talk about a parade. So everybody likes a parade, so we need to make sure we accommodate the parades and stuff. So you just tell us what we need to do and where we need to go from here, and I'm here to answer any questions with the representative.
Board have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Public. Thank you, Mr. Bradley, and certainly thank you, Representative Gallegos, for being present at these meetings. We did ask them to come to the table with us, and they certainly have. They responded by listening to the concerns you guys conveyed. But I think we all have to make concessions in order to meet at that table, to meet in the middle. One thing, Representative Gallegos, I'm not sure if you mentioned it or not, but the reverse angle parking, What was decided on that, or where are we looking at that?
Well, we're looking to try, there again, with Mr. Parker not here, I don't want to speak out of turn. We're still in discussion on, I was telling them, just using me as an example, you wouldn't want me to back into that spot on Main Street, because I'm more of a liability to you than even my wife. But we want them to look at the real need and real reason for that. The way I use the parking there in front of the courthouse is I watch the stoplight behind me. When it's red, I know the traffic's not coming through and I start backing out. The concern is that if there's a large truck behind you or next to you, you may not see the traffic flowing. But the way I use that stoplight, it tells me there's going to be less movement on that road. So we're going to look at the accidents in the area and the overall use of that road, or of those parking lots pieces. So that's not written in stone. We're still in discussions. I wish that Mr. Parker could have been here. I totally understand what he's doing because, and just to let you know his heart, he's done a lot for our state by taking monies from other places because 176, 128, there's so many roads here in our area that are in need of funding that if Tucumcari doesn't do their job and doesn't prepare for a job, if it's not road ready or that they're ready to go to work, that money is reallocated somewhere. Mr. Parker's been really good at trying to get road monies down here to Lee County because of the safety to our county, the truck drivers, everyone else that's on 128. You look at it, I mean, they're always in the news, not just state news, but national news because of the amount of accidents we have on 128. So what he's doing up there is part of that. They're trying to get, see what fundings are out there, what our next steps are for New Mexico. So him being out there and me being able to stay here is pretty important because, I mean, he will put it into play if we can get it. That's why I'm so worried about if we lose this $2 million worth of funding, where it will go. And tell you historically, it's gone to the Albuquerque-Santa Fe corridor because there's a lot of need up there by quantity. They have a lot of people, but they take our money already, and I don't want to yield any more to them if not, if there's a way to keep it here. So I hope I answered that. That's still a little bit fuzzy on what we're doing with the traffic on the parking, but that's a distinct discussion we're having.
Okay. I certainly appreciate you coming to the table and meeting us halfway there. Again, we heard the complaints, we heard the concerns that were brought forth, and you heard as well. We appreciate you being at that meeting as well. I think that nobody in this room wants to lose that funding. It'd be the worst case scenario, and I visited earlier with Mr. Bradley, and he said that when I asked him, what's the worst case scenario? He said, losing this project completely. And so I don't think anybody in this room wants to do that. So we're certainly working together as a team, and not everybody's going to be happy, I understand that, but we're going to try to accommodate everybody's concerns as best we can in order to do the best that we can for Lovington. So I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
I was just going to say, it is to my understanding that I know we're going to do away with the center median, but we're going to stripe it as we have down by the Wells Fargo, and just keep. We're actually, like y'all was saying, we're going to widen that to accommodate the traffic. So it's basically going to be just like it is. Really, is that the way?
Except you won't have the 2 lanes each way.
Right.
You'll have that center piece to be able to do your left and right turns or your left turns from either side. But it'll give us a continuous center lane all the way through the project. But there again, we're doing everything we can to accommodate those as far as the discussions we've had.
Yeah, and that practically would be for some of the business owners that have a wide turn. They have trailers coming in and so forth. So that was my concerns, like for Ace Hardware and this gentleman back here in the corner. His business, he was concerned about a 40-foot trailer
Right.
pulling in there. And so I said, yes, we have to accommodate the local businessman. And so let's do away with the center. And then also with the parade as well, thinking about the parade, but mainly our local businessmen create revenue for our citizens here. So we definitely want to accommodate them. So, and then also we are currently discussing the parking, and my suggestion was let's just keep it the same. Everybody's familiar with what we have in place. We can keep it the same. But like you got to understand that the sidewalks are going to be widened. You're gonna have a bike trail. It widens it out. If you go back with a 4-lane, you're gonna have little bitty 4 lanes. You're not gonna have a wide 4-lane like you have right now. You've got too much on each side that you're having to give up. And like I said, just a bike trail alone is 4 feet on each side, so you're already giving up 8 feet of space on your road. So the more you take from the outer part, the more narrow you're gonna have for the inner part. So when you start looking at trying to make a 4-lane, you're gonna have a very narrow 4-lane instead of, I prefer to have a wide 2-lane with a turning lane than have 4 little bitty lanes coming downtown, because they're not going to be as they are right now. Because like these gentlemen mentioned, that we have to go by federal and state requirements in order to get the funding, and that's the only way the road construction gets done. But we appreciate you guys coming and so forth. Alan is going to stay for public comment at the end. He will be here, so if you guys want to stay around, somebody that had some other concerns, feel free to. And this is an ongoing project. You know, I know some concerns were saying about, David, why did you not stop the project? Well, you don't never stop a project. You continue to move the project forward, and you start to accommodate as you move forward. You accommodate businesses because they're going to have new concerns. We're going to have concerns as we go. It's not etched in stone a project. It's designed and so forth, but you could still make accommodations for businesses that you say, hey, we didn't address this. Let's do this and that. It's an ongoing project. It's not, but you never want to stop the project, especially if you have federal and state funding. You see how hard it is for us as a small community as we are to get special funding, and definitely we're not going to lose this one. So we appreciate you guys coming. Like I said, the ones that want to stick around for public comment, feel free to, and Alan's going to stay here and help hopefully answer some of your questions. Thank you, State. Yes, sir.
Mayor, if you don't mind, just in closing, if I had an office, I would tell you my office door is always open. So even after this discussion, if there's still heartburn, feel free to call me. And I don't know, you guys are more welcome to give my cell number out. It's 575-390-7570. I have to, this is what we're doing here, is balancing the needs of the people to the monies of the state. And you guys here actually vote on me. We'd had a discussion earlier. I get Governor Martinez aggravated often because I really don't care what they care about up there. In all reality, it's what's good, the greater good for this community. So if you need me, you call me. I apologize. I don't know why my wife had my daughter on this exact date, but I just know as a dad, I better be there. So there again, I apologize to you all for having to leave early. I hope you understand, but feel free to contact me. Like I say, if I had an office, the door would always be open. So anyway, thank you all so much. Be blessed.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be in the lobby when your meeting's.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go into Commissioner and Staff report. Wyatt?
Commissioners, just give you an update. 17th Street, they did put the top mat on. Today they finished up the curb or the sidewalk. It is still too wet for them before the very end transition on 17th and Jefferson. They're waiting for it to dry up a little bit. They did, I believe they said they were going to go out there and kind of scar the material, kind of let the moisture come back out. But we're due for rain tomorrow and Thursday also, so that's the lacking of it. The pond is done, and they're just finalized the punch list and everything that we still need to do the walkthrough on. Other than that, still waiting on the final CES. We sent off the CES quote for the little addition on Central that we're going with, new asphalt to finish out a little bit of work there that was torn up. But other than that, stand for your comments.
Questions from the board? Gary?
Mayor and Commission, I have no comments this evening.
Do you want to introduce yourself? Or Brianna, you want to introduce your
This
new
is
partner?
the new admin assistant. Her name's
Hello.
Jaylene.
My name is Jaylene Medellin.
Go ahead and stand up, Jamie.
Okay. Hello. My name is Jaylene Medellin. I'm the new admin assistant. And I just want to say I greatly appreciate the opportunity I've been given to be the admin assistant. Thank you.
Thank you. Brianna?
Nothing to report, sir.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Well, I hope it keeps raining. my comment. I hope it keeps raining.
Commissioner Bernard.
I just want to say, I'm glad to see the turnout tonight, and I really hope that a lot of the constituents for all of us in East District really just respect the state's decision. You know, like he said, it's not a city decision, and we do need to beautify our downtown area. No matter, you know, as long as we're taking out that medium, it's awesome. But we do need to just keep the project moving forward. And I was going to speak for Mayor Trujillo. You know, everybody read that comment in the paper. Well, it was just kind of misquoted, you know, taken out of proportion. And he knows in reality, in his heart, it takes all five of us as a commission to make a decision like that. And, you know, sometimes when you're speaking from the heart, words just come out all of a sudden, you know. So I just wanted to stand up for him for that. Also, I wanted to say we had a great 4th of July turnout. It was pretty awesome. I want to be quiet on that note.
I have nothing to report. Commissioner Campos.
Speaking of 4th of July, James, I think we need to change the rules for the lizard race. I think we need to feed the dragon before the actual race. Okay. But I heard the turnout was great, and actually I was out there for the fireworks display, and it was an awesome display. So I appreciate everybody who was involved with that. Thank you for your effort, and I think the citizens of Lovington really enjoyed it as well. I know I did. Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Citizen Chief.
Sir, I don't have anything.
James.
Yes, sir. Well, I know Leslie took a well-deserved vacation, but the 4th of July, it was about twice as large this year. I know that when she gets back, we're already planning on getting together, see what we can do, what changes we can make for next year just to try to regrow that event even bigger and better. But that's all I have to report.
Patrick?
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Okay. We have first item as an action item. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor. Resolutions 2018-57, temporary street closure permit approval, July 21st, 2018, for Live on Love concert.
Second.
Have a motion second. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, of course, we have our Live on Love concert being run by Lovington Main Street. They're also going to be combining that with a car show. Since this does involve municipal arterials, which is Love Street and Central, we do have to bring this forward to the City Commission. This will be on July 21st. They would like to close traffic down on Love Street, basically from Washington down to Avenue A. Of course, Avenue A between Main Street and Love Street, as well as Central from Main Street to East Street. What they intend to do is actually the beer garden will be in this area. The concert stage will be in this particular area with vendors and car show throughout the rest of the downtown area.
Any discussion?
No.
All in,
We're planning on keeping that closed until midnight, you say?
Yes, sir.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider Resolution 2018-58, designate official representative for NMED SCADA grant, SAP 18-C4063-STBR.
I'll second that.
Have a motion second, James?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is actually a reauthorization of a capital outlay appropriation that we received. This was actually leftover money from that particular grant that was rolled over into a new project, which will provide a little over $89,000 to complete upgrades to our SCADA system, which is the communication system for our lift stations for the wastewater treatment system in Lovington.
Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for resolution 218-59, designate official representative for NED Water Well Grant, SAP 18 C4064 STBR.
Second.
A motion second, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a reauthorization for the water well project to where we'll be drilling additional water wells in the well field. This particular project will provide $352,000 in capital outlay funding for this particular project, which is shovel ready. The only thing that we lack is going out to bid right now to find a contractor.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion. Consider resolution 218-60, designate official representative for MED water well grant SAP 18 C4 4064 STBR.
Second.
I have a motion second, James.
Mayor and Commissioners, this particular grant, the funds are a little over $97,000 will be also used to complete the water well drilling project. It's just a separate grant.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to consider accounts payable.
Second.
A motion second, Gary.
If I may, your mayor and commission, we have several items of interest this particular period. Right away on the front page, the very second item, which is for $1,019, says Admin Office of the Courts. That's essentially a DWI testing that is a recurring expenditure through our municipal courts. And then after that, you see the after hours and heating and air conditioning. Our library needed some repair to one of their air conditioners there. And then the next item is the ALSCO, which I can't pronounce that well. But anyway, our ambulance service, they buy linens from them, and so that's what that is, just a linen purchase for our ambulance services. And then below that, the American Supply, LLC, is one of the primary companies that our youth center goes through to buy a lot of their supplies for the youth center. And actually, they get a lot of cleaning supplies from them. For some reason, they have a lot of stuff they have to clean up all the time at the youth center. Anyway, moving on down the list, you'll notice the Aero International Incorporated. Again, that's ambulance supplies, but that's more technical of a medical nature, you know, needles and things of that kind of stuff. And then the Artesia fire equipment was the repair of a ventilation fan for where they park the fire equipment in the garage area. And then if you move down, the Barcodes Incorporated, our water department making a real effort to keep track of all of our inventory and supplies, invested in this barcodes with a little scanner to help track all of the materials and supplies that the water department's using. And then if you skip down, and this was our largest expenditure, the $48,003.71 with CES, was a continuation of the design work on Commercial Street Phase 2. And as we move down, the Constructors Inc., the $2,496, kind of surprised me. I figured we'd be paying them more, thinking that it would be related to a bigger project. But they're one of our main sources for buying the cold mix that we use for our patching and repair around town. And then down there, the Cummings Rocky Mountain, below that, our water department needed to do some repair on one of our backup booster stations. It was a generator that they needed to do some work on to keep it in good operation. And in Dade and Nepper, we always buy supplies for our water department, usually water meters, but in this case they needed things like a couple of 4-foot taps, saddles for connecting different pipes. And then if you move down to the DPC Industries Incorporated, that is for our wastewater department, and that's one of their main vendors for buying the supplies that they need. And then the last item I thought I'd cover on this page is just the standard supplies from Gall's Quartermaster. That's the main place where our police buy like uniforms, patches, things of that nature. And then moving on to the second page, the next item of real interest is down about in the L's, the Lovington Veterinary Clinic. The $2,112. It's that time of year, and every so often, about every quarter, we get a lot of animals that we spay and neuter, and that's the main cost right there. And then, of course, the Michael's prescription, just a few down below that. Again, the medical supplies for our ambulance service. And then as we move down, we have the Odessa pumps and equipment expenditure. Our wastewater department has those big tanks out there, and they had this sequel batch reactor mixer that needed some repair, and so that's what the expenditure there is with the Odessa pumps for the $10,000. And then if you move down, I just thought it was interesting, the title, OneDrive. Well, our library offers not online books, but the ability to buy and download, but it's from the library, you're not buying them, so to rent out the books, audios and ebook databases, and that's the OneDrive is the tool the library has to provide that. And then as you move down, the S&S Worldwide is another vendor that our youth center uses for getting a lot of supplies, in this case focused on their summer camp, and that's why we had the $1,300 there. And then the $12,614 with Sandbar Construction has to do with some crosswalks and painting and warnings for crosswalks throughout the town. And I'm not sure if it's related to ADA compliance or not, but that's what I got on the purchases. And then below that it says Scott's Place. That's just a new vendor really that our senior center is buying more food products to feed more of the seniors. And then of course as we move down the Strong, near the end of the page, about the fourth item down, Strong Power and Electric was an unusual expense here because our fire station needed some wire repair, so they did that for the fire station. And then the Sunbelt Pools Incorporated should be obvious. We needed stuff, mostly chemicals and chlorine for our swimming pool. And then on the last page, the Tyler Technologies expenditure, the Department of Finance has a requirement for us to have our chart of accounts cross over or crosswalk over into a designated chart of accounts that the Department of Finance has. And so this was an expenditure working with Tyler Technologies to create this crossover. And then of course the Western Fire Extinguisher expenditure is just part of an annual maintenance that we normally spend. And if I'm available for any questions, if you have any.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Gary, I noticed that several of our city employees have gotten paid from $120 to $600.
Yes, sir.
Employees. What is that about? I'm just curious.
Every year, and it's only once a year, we offer our employees a uniform allowance, and that's what this is for.
Is that why you mentioned you needed bigger shirts? Well,
Yeah, I do need some bigger shirts.
okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I need some smaller ones.
All right. Had a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Go ahead and move into public comment. Anyone willing to make a public comment, you have to approach the podium, speak your first and last name, and then state your comment.
Hi, Mayor, City Commissioners. I just wanted to invite you guys to our master plan update. It's going to be taking place Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Troy Harris. This is for the downtown master plan. It had originally been last week, but it had to be rescheduled due to some conflicts that Consensus had. And then the other thing I just wanted to let you know is that we have opened up applications for the facade improvement grant. And that's a $2,500 matching grant for any business that submits an application and is selected to increase their facade. So That way we can help spread the word about that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Deanne Kimbrough, have the quilt shop down on Main Street. Do we have a time frame from the state on how long, once the construction starts?
Can Alan come back? I'm sorry, I should have got Alan. Can someone bring, ask Alan? Alan, she had a question.
I was just wondering if you had a time frame on like when to start and completion, you know, on how long that's gonna take?
Give you an idea.
Okay, that's all I want.
Mayor, Commissioners, as we get to our 90% review is when we have a little bit more control of the time, because we know how detailed curb and gutter is and valley gutter and stuff like that. So I really don't have a day count for that yet. But in looking at some of the other downtown projects that we've done, we're at about a year's worth of construction.
For that one section?
Well, it depends
Solid
on
mile, about a mile.
which
long.
phase, yeah.
The first phase?
Right, because I think there's 4 phases in this.
That's
plan.
correct.
And I think the first phase, I think, would be the one that would probably be the longest, which was about 200 days or so.
Okay.
That's best guess without seeing the plans yet.
Okay.
And the business owners, I always ask you, stay in communication with the city, because if something's obstructing your way of doing business for that day, please let us know so we can try to accommodate you. So it's, like I said, project's gonna be ongoing. We're gonna have some hiccups in the road, but if you say, hey, they're digging up this road, how I'm gonna have access, then we could make some detours and so forth.
Do we know which way it's gonna be detoured? Will it be down First or Love? I mean,
Those plans have not been created yet. I can say that we do everything possible to keep the accesses open. If there's any other alternate access from a side street, back street, an alley, that's when we'll take advantage of closing the front. But we try to do whatever we can to keep emergency services and anything like that available to the business owners and any property, in fact. But no detour plans have been created. We try and leave, as much open as we can through. We know that's a vital corridor for businesses and stuff like that, and we'll keep it open as best we can. I have to give you an example. In Carrizozo, there's not really a lot of places to go. They're shutting that whole thing down and routing everybody around town. So it's just some of the things we have to do sometimes.
thank you.
I'm Brenda Salzman. I've got a question. I understand that we have to work under state and federal regulations on a lot of things. You are talking about 2 4-foot bicycle paths being put through downtown, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's 8 feet. That amount of space would do wonders for the actual road itself and the traffic. Because in this town, for some reason, the trucks, the oil field trucks, are not using the bypasses. It's not enforced. Therefore, when we get down there, if you're going to close down on the amount of space we have, we are riding either right next to, behind, or in front of these trucks, and it is a dangerous situation for all of us. Why can't that 4 feet or 8 feet total be put into the road space so we have a safer situation when we go to travel up and down Main Street?
Alan, did you want to address that about mandates of the federal?
If it's a federal mandate, I understand.
Well, one of the things that I guess I haven't talked to your manager about, or planning director, is there a comprehensive plan for bike paths? And if there is some sort of comprehensive plan through your planning department or whatever that addresses where the bicycles will go eventually, we might be able to get a design variance on requiring the bike paths. We also could look at the I know they like to have them on each side of the street, but why not one? I mean, how many bicyclists do you have here?
That's the other thing in
And I guess
this town.
that maybe we can get by with a study that shows there's only 2 per day or whatever, and we can get by with 1 bike lane and try and go for a design variance. So that's some of the communications that we need to take care of.
Well, the sad thing in this town is 90% of our bikers in this town are either DUI recipients or, you know, people that aren't allowed to drive vehicles. And so I don't see, and most of the people I've spoken with don't see the need for bicycle paths in this town.
So,
If y'all can take it into consideration.
just more discussion we can have with
And our trucks, too, please.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. It won't take me long. My name's Deborah Lovelace, and I've lived in this town since 1964. That main street up there has served us quite fine, just like it is. And you want to know something else? Back when I was a kid growing up, there's a lot more business up there on that main street. And it still served us quite fine. All I sit here and listen to you guys talk about is money. How much more money you're going to get for all this, for doing this. You're not helping the city of Lovington. You're not helping the citizens of Lovington. And as being a citizen of Lovington for a long time, I think maybe you need to stop and leave things alone that work fine. You don't need to change something that ain't broke. And goodbye.
Anybody else like to address the board?
Yes. Of course. My name's Clint Lauren, of course. I just had a couple of things. One, I know the state did a traffic survey back in 2014 or 15 or sometime when the oil field was down and there really was no traffic, and so they've come up with, from that survey, with a lot less traffic than we have today, this idea that we can do with 2 lanes and 2 turning lanes, and they're saying, oh, it'll hold the same amount of traffic and this and that, and there's no way 2 lanes can hold the same amount of traffic as 4 lanes. If there are 2 people turning left at the end of the block at the same time, it's the same amount. I agree with that. I mean, you limit it with someone turning, but just on a day-to-day traveling basis, there's no way. You can't shrink something or take away from something and keep the same volume. Unless you speed things up and you move the speed limit to like 55 or whatever. But another thing is, God damn, I'm just like kind of put on the spot here. I don't like the idea of the 2 lanes. Personally, I think it's ridiculous. I think there are a few people here that really love the idea, either for their Lovington Main Street board positions. It'll help them, hey, we look what we did on our Lovington Main Street district. We've got this and that, we beautified, or maybe political resumes or whatever. For the most part, I hear these little cute catchphrases like, well, people just don't like change. Not everybody's going to be happy. Well, the majority is who you should be listening to, and the majority of the people that are speaking or have spoke don't want this. Who's going to be happy? Why are we worried about the few to make them happy? And then, yeah, we don't like change. I mean, some changes are just not smart. So anyway, that's, I guess, all I have to say. I would ask, anyways, do another traffic study. See if, I don't know, you say $2 million in to the design, but at the last meeting they were talking about still having to go to design. What are they designing? I mean, what's spent $2 million to get nothing? Anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Earl Davis. I just want to make a comment. I think we ought to dust the Constitution off. We throw the Constitution away. We had some pretty smart guys, our founders, give everything they own, give us our freedom. And here we're taking federal money for a bicycle train because the federal government says we have to do that. If you remember, the states created the federal government. All the federal government is supposed to do is war, peace, and foreign negotiations. They have no business, all these alphabet agencies they've created. And I just want y'all to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sorry, Mayor, City Commissioners, I just wanted to point out that the Main Street Board does not benefit from the creation of 2-lane versus 4-lane. It does not help anybody's political resume or anything like that. If anything, we just want to make sure that Main Street continues to have progress and moves forward.
Thank you.
I just have a few things to say. I'm Paula Van Cleve, and I haven't been able to make some of these meetings. I'm firmly against the bicycle lane, especially around the courthouse. And back-end parking just seems like the height of stupidity. I know in the oil field, they back in, they have reasons to back in. But for somebody just doing business downtown, I don't think we need back-end parking. And the bike lane, as I understand it, you're going to have parking and a bike lane, and then the 3 lanes for whatever. That puts those bicycles in pretty good danger of somebody trying to get in or out of a parking place. So I think the bike lanes need to be eliminated downtown. And while we're doing this, can we have new, bigger water drainage down Main Street? So it'll quit flooding my property on East Avenue H. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Anybody else? I want to personally thank you, everyone, for coming. Your comments and so forth is appreciated, and hopefully Alan he's taking notes and so forth. Like I said, the process is ongoing, so we've got probably less than 5 months to try to accommodate. But I think thus far, with the recommending no center medium, as well as the parking remaining the same, would be a big help, because I think that's one of the biggest concerns thus far for business owners, as well as for people getting adjusted to the new type of parking style. So if we can just get them to, and then possibly see what we can't do with the bikes and so forth. But this board did recommend not to have them beginning, but when we found out federal mandated that we had to have them and so forth. So like I said, we had no say in it. So, but once again, with the board and so forth, and city staff, we really appreciate you guys attending tonight. We will be going into closed session, so I just want to say thank you so much. Paul, Commissioner. Anybody else? I'm sorry, commissioners, you guys want to?
Well, I was just going to say, and I just want, y'all as a committee out there to just open your hearts and look into it. Do we really want to beautify Lovington, or do we want to just keep looking at it as the same old town, griping about the streets, the roadways? We really need this project. I know I wouldn't burn $2 million. If I had that, I'd be happy as a little pig in slop. I'm just going to put it that way. But we really need to open those hearts up and just kind of get out of the past. I've been here all my life too. I've been here 59 years, but I would love to see it change. I know people hate change, but just open up those hearts and think about it, or your minds. Pray about it a little bit. It's going to better Lovington. And I know a lot of people shaking their heads. They don't. If you don't want a better Lovington, that's fine. But that's crazy to think like that. That if you want to beautify your city. I know y'all do.
Nothing on the beautification.
I'm public comments over.
I just want to put that out there.
You two are sellouts. You were against this at the last meeting. Whatever. Sellouts.
I never said I was against the project. I was against the center medium, and I'll back that. I'll stand behind that 100%.
Ma'am, public comments over with.
It don't matter,
Public comments is over.
I'm just going to say one more thing before I go, guys. I drive these streets every night. Main Street is the least of our problem when it comes to bad streets in this town.
Thank you.
I've got frontium alignments I paid for. I know.
Any other commission comments?
Just one, I was just gonna say, James, along with this project, we're also gonna get water lines replaced, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Mayor and Commissioners, part of the project, of course, is to replace the water main that goes down Main Street within the project area, take advantage of the fact that they'll be reconstructing the entire roadway to where we don't have to go back in and fix any water mains, because that's about a 40 or 50-year-old line. So it will be replaced,
Okay.
as well as the interchanges at the intersection.
Thank you.
All right, once again, we appreciate it. We'll be going to closed session. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 10-15-1, New Mexico State annotated 1978, subsection HA, regarding the purchase, acquisition, or disposition of real property or water rights, potential sale of city-owned property.
I'll second that.
Okay, you have a motion second. Roll call, Brandon?
Commissioner Sanchez? Yes. Commissioner Butcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Campos?
Yes.
And Mayor Trujillo?
Yes. We are in closed session.
It don't even make sense.